Okay guys, welcome back to another Crypto Haven video. My name's Ben, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how I trade on Jupiter. Not like I don't do like day trading where I sit and watch charts all day long, but I do like to trade. That's kind of how I got started in the markets, and so I enjoy it. And if I see an opportunity, I kind of want to get into it. And so Jupiter is great because built on Solana, the fees are inexpensive. It's a decentralized exchange, and the blockchain is very fast. We'll just ignore the fact that they went down the other day for a few hours. Hopefully they'll fix those problems. But overall, it's a very great experience, and Jupiter has done an outstanding job. Now, particularly what I'm going to talk about here is with trading with their perpetuals. Now, they've got all this other stuff here. You can swap on a lot of different decentralized exchanges. Jupiter has where you can set limit orders, you can do dollar cost averaging, where you can just kind of set that up and it'll do that stuff for you automatically. They've got a bridge here, of course, and all of this stuff is great. I really like Jupiter and how everything is streamlined, and the user interface is very intuitive and very clean, and it's just easy to use. It's a pleasant experience. The other thing is there's a lot of liquidity because Solana is a big, it's one of the biggest chains right now, and a lot of people are building on Solana. There's a lot of places you can trade, like say perpetuals, for example, but if there's no liquidity, right, and there's no volume taking place, that's a sketchy situation you don't want to get into. But with Jupiter being built on Solana and all of this volume and liquidity that's there, I mean, this is a great, there's no issues here whatsoever. Now, normally, I tell people just avoid leverage because that's what you're doing with perpetuals. You can long, you can short, you can use leverage, but there's a feature that Jupiter has built in to where all of that kind of goes out the window. Like when I would trade in the Forex markets, I would trade on some brokerages with leverage of 500x or even 1000x. And I would lose so much money. So trading with leverage is inherently extremely risky. But there's one feature on Jupiter that takes that risk and minimizes it dramatically and allows you to do things that I could never do. Like, for example, when I was trading Forex with leverage, it allows you to do things like I would never trade with leverage on other platforms just because they don't have this feature. And we're going to look at that right now and show you guys how you can do this and make some pretty good money, whether you want to do this a lot or just here and there, and then look at some other options that you can do with this, with the perpetuals here. So first thing I want to do is look at, well, let's look and see if there's even a trade possible right now. If there is, we'll just enter one and we'll walk through the steps just by actually doing it. So they have got a nice chart here. You can add on indicators and stuff like that, or you can flip back and forth with your trading view charts if those are already set up and just kind of see what's going on. Now, with the perpetuals here, you've only got three options. You got Solana. Actually, you've got two options. You got Solana and Bitcoin. So we're going to ignore ETH because ETH sucks, right? So I'm not even going to pay attention to ETH because it's like, I know this is on the Solana ecosystem, but just in principle, until ETH gets their act together, Ethereum needs to be faster. They need to be cheaper. And I'm not talking about going through a layer 2 just to do that. Okay, until they do that, I think ETH is garbage, and I just ignore Ethereum altogether. So, and really, Solana and Bitcoin are all you need. Solana gives you the option, even though Solana is like number 5 by market cap, there's still a lot of volume, and they can still make some decent size moves. And if you're employing a little bit of leverage, you can make some really good gains. Bitcoin, on the other hand, it moves, right, not quite as much, right? The gains in any given day are nowhere near as much as Solana, and it's a little bit more predictable. And I mean, let's face it, we're in a bull market right now as of this recording. We have a Bitcoin exchange traded fund that was just recently put into action, and we've got the halving coming up. So for all intents and purposes, I mean, you can just be going long, and probably you're going to have a good chance of making profit. The only issue is you don't want to face liquidation, and that's the problem with using leverage. So we'll cover that in a second here, but let's take a look at Solana in the chart, and I'll just run briefly how I am trying to find if there's even a worthwhile trade taking place here. So the daily chart, what does this tell me? I'm basically just going to go through multiple different time frames and take a snapshot of what that time frame is telling me, and then put it all together and try to form a conclusion of, do I think that there is an opportunity for a trade now? If not, I'll wait and I'll come back later, and if I see something I like, then I'll do it. This isn't like where you're just sitting around all day long and just, jumping in at any different random time or forcing a trade to happen when there's nothing there. This is when you see a clear opportunity, then you can jump onto Jupiter and you can take advantage of some of the leverage that's here and make some good profits in a short-term trade, or what we'll look at, you can turn this into a long-term position as well. So on the daily chart, I see we've had this big move up. This was like in January, and it corrected. But this to me looks like a bottom, and then the price has turned and started to go up again, right? For a daily time frame, that's kind of what I look at this. This is maybe the low, and then we may not ever get these lows again. What is the 4-hour chart saying? Well, with a 4-hour chart, what I'm looking at here is we have this high right here that we just made, but this does not look like a proper top to me. In other words, this doesn't look like a point where the price is just going to sell off and go way down. This to me, these two candles, is reminiscent of these two candles here, where price just made a very short-term top. People took some profits, so the price corrected for a short amount of time, and then it continued onwards and upwards. And so that's what this looks like to me, especially because there's no wicks on the top of either of these candles. And if you don't do technical analysis, I mean, this stuff will come to you over time. Over looking at a lot of different charts, your eyes will start to see different patterns that you'll recognize. And you'll say, the probabilities are that this is not any kind of a significant top. It's just like a short-term top. We'll have a correction, which looks like we may have had right here. And then price is getting ready to make its next leg upwards on this time frame, the 4-hour time frame. If we go down to the 1-hour chart, we just see the same picture but stretched out, because we have more candles now to make up this picture. So we see a small bottoming and the price is moving up. We're in a little bit of a consolidation zone here maybe. The 30-minute time frame, the same thing. We're just kind of consolidating. And I'll go down as low as, I may look at the 15-minute as well. Let's pull that up. So with these smaller time frames, like 5 and 15-minute are probably the lowest I go. Now what you're doing is you're looking at something like, you're taking a bigger picture like this on the daily chart, and you're saying, I see that we've bottomed down here, and now we're back resuming the upwards trend, but now let me zoom in and see if it's a good time to put on a trade or not, if there's any opportunities right now or not. And so on this 5-minute chart where we've zoomed way in, I see a couple of points right here and here where price has tried to test this level and kind of bounced off, rejected it, and here we came down and we had our sell-off, I guess, on this lower time frame, and it looks like we may have turned and are going back up. In fact, let's go over to the trading view charts because I've got some other indicators set up over here. So the 5-minute chart, we've dropped down through the Bollinger Band, the middle Bollinger Band, and gone down and tested the lower bands. If we look at the 15-minute chart, same thing, but we've now broken back out above this middle Bollinger Band. The 30-minute chart, I use the Bollinger Bands a lot. That's why I'm looking at this right now. I see we've bounced off of this Bollinger Band, right? And now we've kind of started to move back up. What's the hourly doing here? We've retested it, that Bollinger on this time frame. So on a 5-minute chart, the price has gone up already a bit, maybe 1%. This could just be us breaking out of this lower section of the Bollinger Bands through the middle, and now we're retesting it. So if that's my viewpoint, and I look at the macro picture on the daily chart and I say, hey, we're kind of resuming the upward trend, based on that, and then what price is doing here on the 5-minute chart, I would say, you know what, I'm willing to put on a trade right here. We've got this move up. We've broken through the Bollinger Bands on the 5-minute chart. Now we're potentially just retesting it. So is it worth placing a bet there? I think that it is, at least for this example. So let's go back here and do that. So in my wallet, and you have to have a Solana-based wallet. I use Phantom. I think that they're the cleanest, one of the cleanest and easiest wallets I've ever used. So I recommend Phantom if you don't have a Solana-based wallet. So you'll be connected here. I have 1.72 Solana in my wallet. So first thing I do is I choose how much I want to use as collateral. I can use all of it minus a little bit for fees. You can do whatever you want. I'm just going to put in 1. So what that does is it populates this level here, a couple different fields. Now, the thing that makes this all work is this little slider right here. This leverage slider is what allows us to trade perpetuals and use leverage and do it with a responsible amount of risk that we take. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to say the lowest you can take, by the way, is 1.1x. Okay, you can go as high as 100, but you're never going to do that because there's no way to really trade safely with this high of amount of leverage. All right, you're just gambling at this point. But does that mean you're always gambling if you're using leverage? The answer is no. You can do this in a way that makes sense from a technical analysis standpoint. So let's look at how we do that. The first thing that I might do is go to the daily chart. Okay, and I'm going to look at this and say, let's use TradingView real quick. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, where do I think is a price target that this price of Solana will never reach? Well, the most recent one might be down here. This is a daily chart, right? This low candle right here, we had this big move, right? Then we corrected for like a month and a half. We made this low here. Price got bought up, right? So, and then we started moving upwards again. This is January 23rd. It is now February 10th. There, in my opinion, is no way price is ever going to go back down to these levels, let alone will it go below the low on this candle. Let's see what that low is. $78.14. Okay, so what I can do then is look at and say, if I place my liquidation point below this low of 78.14, most likely in the time that I'm going to have this trade open, price will never ever reach my liquidation zone. And if it never reaches that price here, this price where the trade would get liquidated, then that means I will not get liquidated. Now there's no 100% guarantees, but all of the markets are probabilities. There's no 100% guarantees in anything. You have to look at everything in probabilities. So the probabilities are price is going to go up long before it take me into profit, long before it ever goes down and reaches these levels. Now let's look at let's go back to Jupiter and see what this does. $75.50 or whatever. So now what you do with that price in mind is you come over here to this leverage slider and you start playing around with this slider, because when you move this slider, numbers are going to readjust. You'll see the size of your position in US dollars adjusts. That means that if I put in 1 Solana and I use 6.2x leverage, that means it's like the equivalent of me putting on a trade for $673. So that's what that's telling you. This is telling you your collateral. This is how much you would lose if you get liquidated. 1 Solana. What you're interested in is down here. This liquidation price, 92.05. I want that price to be at or below the number that we just decided, which was $75 and some change. So I just drop this back down. Now I'm at 80. Let's go down some more. 67. Okay, let's go up. 74.41. 75.51. There's the price. It's basically the same price that we said. So now what I know is if I use 3.2x leverage, I am taking a relatively safe trade where I have very low risk of being liquidated, yet at the same time I still get to employ 3.2x leverage. So with 1 Solana, I can trade as if I had 3.5 Solana. So now imagine if you had 10 Solana. Now I don't, but that would be like the equivalent of trading $3,400, almost $3,500. So you can multiply your gains exponentially through leverage, but you need to do it responsibly and you need to do it in a safe way. Now, this is the safest way possible in my opinion. Just use like a daily chart. Find the lowest support and look at the prices below there and set your liquidation price at that level. But what if you think you want to be more aggressive and you say, you know what? We have a test of this spot here with this correction. We have a correction here. Price made a higher low on this candle. What if we put our liquidation price about $92 or so? Well, let's see what happens here. there's 92.51. Okay, that is below those levels. That allows me to put on this trade with 6.4x leverage. So the equivalent of almost $700 worth of Solana. And you can like zoom up or in, however you want to look at it. You can use a 4-hour chart, the 1-hour chart. Like, the stronger your trend is and the more momentum you have at this moment in time, like, the lower time frame you can get at. So even if you, my God, you wanted to look at like a 15-minute chart or something, and you look at this and you said, I don't think that price is going to go below this point here, $106, let's just call it $106 even, before it's going to break above this level here. Okay? If that's the case, and you really feel strongly about that, then pick $106 as your liquidation point. So again, this price down here, we'll move the slider up. There's 98, there's 103, 104, 105.50. Let's use this plus sign now. That's taking quite a bit. Alright, well, let's just stop there. That's 105.91, but that would allow me to trade with 31x leverage. Alright, so that would be like, with my $100 worth of Solana, trading as if I had a $3,200 position with Solana. So obviously, with more money, you're going to make more gains. So this is basically how I'm doing this. And this might be closer for you. I mean, if you're willing to take on the higher risk, remember, if price hits this level, you're going to get liquidated. This money is gone, right? So if you're okay with that, because it's a smaller amount, then you may be okay using a 15-minute chart, picking the low, and using that as your liquidation point, right? If you have a lot of cash in here, if you have like $10,000, then just go back to the daily or the 4-hour or something like that and be more conservative. You do not need a lot of leverage to make a lot of money. One thing that I'll also mention here at this point is, if you're doing this type of stuff, don't do it with all your money. If you have, let's say you have a total amount of $10,000 that you're investing in cryptocurrencies that you're willing to put into crypto, don't use more than 10% to do this type of stuff with. And actually, I would use less than that. Usually the way I would do it is I would take the majority of my funds, and that would be towards positions and coins that I felt strongly about, that I wanted to kind of ride out for a longer term move. I would take maybe 10% and I would set that aside, and I would trade in and out of, coins with smaller moves, maybe a week or two or a month or two, trying to capture like a bigger move, and then I'm out of there. And then maybe an even smaller amount would be for something like this, using leverage. But you don't need more than like $500 to $1,000, because you can grow it very, very quickly. Now, when you first start and you've not done this at all, you've not used Jupiter, maybe you've not even played around with leverage, you're only going to use like $10, guys. Don't risk more money when you're going through the learning curve. Just use something really small. I mean, use $5 or $10 or something. That way you can afford to make the mistakes. Okay, so the key to this, again, you're using this leverage bar. You're getting your liquidation price to be below the low that you think that price is not going to reach, right? So it could be whatever price you want. You're finding that on the charts. You're looking at support points here, and you're picking a price below there, $92, whatever. However you want to do that is up to you. But that's essentially what you're doing, and you're moving this slider to get that as your liquidation price. Now, if you want to take more risk and go up to a 5 or 15-minute chart and find a support level on that, somewhere here or down here, and use that as your liquidation price of like $106, as you think that, there's no way. I mean, you can just come up to this. The Jupiter charts don't have a measuring tool, but I like to use the measuring tools quite a bit. So let's say you are on the 15-minute chart. One thing you can do is you can say, okay, here's your $106 or whatever. You grab your measuring tool with the current price, and you drop down and you say, okay, that's a 2.3% move to the downside, right? Solana could do that, all right? So that is a lot riskier. But when you go back to, for example, the daily chart, and you measure You go all the way down here, what we say at $92, that's a 15% correction to the downside. So it's going to take a lot more for the markets to push Solana down 15%. That would be a major sell-off, right, in anyone's books. So that's why I said pick the time frame that matches up with the level of risk that you want to take. Start conservative as possible in the beginning, just to get your feet wet and get a hang of this. You're not going to need to use a lot of money, even when you start doing this. I mean, you could literally turn $500 or $1,000 into $10,000 in a relatively short amount of time. And then you can take advantage of some of these trades. Now, if we go back to, let's go ahead and put this trade on. So let's look at the 5-minute chart. And based on what price is doing, I may want to see, I mean, look, it's already retraced all the way down. Is it going to break through this low? I may want to wait a few minutes here or a couple of candlesticks and see if it does that. If it turns and starts to look like it's going to go back up, I would be okay putting a trade in with that. But it looks like it may want to go down a little bit and see what's going on down here and see if there's any stop losses that want to get hit, or whatever kind of games these people play. While I'm deciding whether I want to go ahead and put that trade in, let's go ahead and go to Bitcoin. I do have a position open with Bitcoin now. I entered this position at $47,571. All right. Right now, you can see all your information down here once you enter the trade. So I have one position. It's with wrapped Bitcoin. I used $17.89 as collateral. I'm up $155. My liquidation price is $45,469. Okay, so if I have multiple positions open, I want to close them, I can hit close all. I can market close this one position. I can edit my collateral if I need it. Like, say I'm getting close to my liquidation price, but I think that I still feel positive about the trade, I can just add some more collateral. Like if I have another extra Solana, I can just dump it in there, add that to my position, and it will lower my liquidation price and keep me out of harm's way. You know, it'll buy me some more time. But you do that only if you feel very strong about your what you're looking at, and you feel like the price is going to go up. It's just retracing a little bit more than you thought. You can use a take profit or a stop loss. You know, if you want to program those in, that's up to you. You have other information over here. You can see that my fee to open the trade was $3.27. There's a borrowing fee that you pay. This is the rate that you pay it right here. Now it's going to be based on the size of your position. I mean, when we look at this, you can see the current position size. It's as if I took a $36,000 trade, right? Even though I only put like $1,800 on the line. So because of that, my borrow fee is going to be a little bit higher. And right now, basically, I owe $93 in borrowing fees. Now, it's all proportional. Like, I can make a lot of money, like really fast as well, because I'm using leverage. And it tells you right here, I've got about 20x leverage on this trade. So you can see I'm up 8.68% in dollar terms. But when we look at the Bitcoin price, got in at 47,571, we see that the actual price is only up roughly 0.35%. What that means is the Bitcoin price went up 0.35%, but I made 8% gains. So what would that be? Like roughly, if we say 0.5% in actual increase in the Bitcoin price, that equals roughly a 10% dollar amount gains on this trade. Or a 1% move up in Bitcoin's price gives me like a 20% gain. Like, these are major differences. And this is why, like, if Bitcoin just moves up, like a small amount, like you can easily double your account. And the key thing here is you're doing it in a responsible way with minimal liquidation price risk, because you've taken the time to go to the main the chart and pick some support levels where you're like, I don't think price is going to hit that. You're not just randomly using leverage and randomly, entering in dollar amounts to trade with. You're strategically doing this. You're looking at your chart and you're saying, this is a strong support. I don't think price is going to retrace and go to this level again. I'm going to use that as my liquidation price. Therefore, I'm minimizing the risk that I'm ever going to get liquidated, yet I still get to enjoy employing this leverage and increasing my profits. You you're multiplying your gains now through this leverage. So go ahead and play around with that. Use a small amount. Don't risk losing any large amounts of money. And what we'll try to do more of on this channel is putting out videos where we actually look at trades. I'm not going to enter this trade yet. I'm going to give it some more time. I want to see what this is doing short term. The day is over in another 30 minutes, and so the daily candle is going to end, and we'll see some different type of information. We'll get a whole different perspective of what's going on at that time. So, but we will do more videos where we enter trades and we examine some of the reasonings that I'm taking these trades. So if your technical analysis is not up to speed, not like mine is perfect or anything. I mean, we all have different ways of looking at these markets. That's why trading actually works, because everybody has a different opinion and they're looking at the exact same picture. Everybody has the same information, but they're somehow able to get different opinions about that information. But I have been, reading these charts for a long time, so I can give you my perspective, and if that helps out, that's great. And so I'll try to put more videos out where we look at some of these trade setups and why I'm taking them. And if you want some of this information more in real time, just come to our Discord and jump in there, and we've got a trading section, and anything that I put on a video, I'm going to put out most likely in our Discord server before that, so you can get that information before the video comes out. So if there's real-time trade setups potentially that you can capitalize on, then you're going to see it in there first. So right now there's only a few of us in there, but we are looking to grow that and have a community of, form a community of like-minded crypto enthusiasts. So feel free to jump in there. There's going to be a link in the description below, and that'll expire in a week. And if you miss that, because this video is older than that, you'll just have to find a current video, and I'll put a new link in there. So that's it for this video, and we'll catch up with you guys again on the next one.